The conspiracy theorists were right again. It's like, what's the score, man? It's got to be like 3,000 to negative 500 or something. Man, we have from Public. This is Michael Schellenberger's Substack, and this features Matt Taibbi and Alex Gutentag. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But first people sickened by COVID-19 were Chinese scientists at Wuhan Institute of Virology, says U.S. government sources. Uh-oh. The story reads, after years of official pronouncements to the contrary, significant new evidence has emerged that strengthens the case that SARS-CoV-2 virus accidentally escaped from the Wuhan Institute of Virology, or WIV. According to multiple U.S. government officials interviewed as part of a lengthy investigation by Public and Racket, the first people infected by the virus, patients 0, included Ben Hu, a researcher who led the WIV's gain-of-function research on SARS-like coronaviruses, which increases the infectiousness of viruses. More than 3 years after the pandemic's outbreak, many around the world had given up on learning the origin of SARS-CoV-2, the highly infectious respiratory virus that has killed millions, and the response to which shut down businesses and schools, upended societies, and caused enormous collateral damage. Public officials in the US and other countries have repeatedly suggested that uncovering the pandemic's origin may not be possible. We may never know, says Anthony Fauci. Of course he says that. The former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, who oversaw pandemic response for 2 administrations. Should have got fired and jailed, imprisoned. Now, answers increasingly look within reach. Sources within the US government say that 3 of the earliest people to become infected with SARS-CoV-2 were Bin Hu, Yu Ping, and Yan Zhu. All were members of the Wuhan lab suspected to have leaked the pandemic virus. As such, not only do we know that there were WIV scientists who had developed COVID-19-like illnesses in November of 2019, but also that they were working with the closest relatives of SARS-CoV-2 and inserting gain-of-function features unique to it. When a source was asked how certain they were that these were the identities of the 3 WIV scientists who developed symptoms consistent with COVID-19 in the fall of 2019, we were told 100%. Jamie Metzel, a former member of the World Health Organization Expert Advisory Committee on Human Genome Editing, who raised questions starting in early 2020 about a possible research-related pandemic origin, said, "It's a game changer if it can be proven that who got sick with COVID-19 before anyone else. That would be the smoking gun. Who was the lead hands-on researcher in Xi's lab?" Okay, Jamie Metzel was saying this in early 2020. And if you click into here, you can see that this post was originally published on April 16th, 2020. So people were on this early. They said the conspiracy theorists were saying this. But this is Jamie Metzel, a former member of the World Health Organization, was saying this. Okay? So there are some people with prestigious positions that would agree with what the conspiracy theorists were saying. While scientists justify such research as necessary for developing vaccines, President Barack Obama banned federal funding for gain-of-function research of concern in 2014 because experts had come to the consensus that it was too dangerous. However, the National Institute of Health and the NIAID, headed by Francis Collins and Fauci, and a major U.S. government grantee, EcoHealth Alliance, deemed their work on SARS-like viruses as not falling under the gain-of-function research of concern definitions and funded this project in China and Southeast Asia. Okay, so I have a video of Rand Paul and Anthony Fauci. You guys may remember this, but it's Rand Paul grilling Anthony Fauci, and Anthony Fauci getting defensive, trying to play with words and define his way out of the definition of gain-of-function research. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Fauci, as you are aware, it is a crime to lie to Congress. Section 1001 of the U.S. Criminal Code creates a felony and a 5-year penalty for lying to Congress. On your last trip to our committee on May 11th, you stated that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And yet, gain-of-function research was done entirely in the Wuhan Institute by Dr. Xi, and was funded by the NIH. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the Wuhan virology paper entitled "Discovery of a Rich Gene Pool of Bat SARS-Related Coronaviruses," please deliver a copy of the journal article to Dr. Fauci. In this paper, Dr. Shi credits the NIH and lists the actual number of the grant that she was given by the NIH. In this paper, she took 2 bat coronavirus genes, spike genes, and combined them with a SARS-related backbone to create new viruses that are not found in nature. These lab-created viruses were then shown to replicate in humans. These experiments combine genetic information from different coronaviruses that infect animals, but not humans, to create novel artificial viruses able to infect human cells.
Let me stop. So what they did, they engineered furin cleavage sites into the SARS-like coronaviruses to study how this affected their ability to grow and cause disease. So that's what he's referring to right now.
Viruses that in nature only infect animals were manipulated in the Wuhan lab to gain the function of infecting humans. This research fits the definition of the research that the NIH said was subject to the pause in 2014 to 2017, a pause in funding on gain of function. But the NIH failed to recognize this, defines it away, and it never came under any scrutiny.
When he says defines it away, he means that Fauci is playing around words and trying to change the definition of what's going on so it doesn't fit the actual definition of gain of function research. Let me give you an example. Let's say I come home with a new product and my fiance is like, oh, wow, what'd you buy? And I was like, I just got this thing with a little base and it has a pole that's in the base so it can stand. And then in the pole, you can screw a light bulb in it. And then on top of the light bulb, you have a little shade so it doesn't emit light that hurts your eyes. And you don't have to have the overhead light on, so it creates a nice little ambiance and whatnot. And she's like, oh, you mean you bought a lamp? And I'm like, no, it's not a lamp. It's just a light bulb that's on a stand with the shade. And she's like, you're describing a lamp. So this is what's going on here. Every time Anthony Fauci talks, he's explaining gain of function. And then he's like, oh, no, that's not actually gain of function. Don't question Dr. Science.
Dr. Richard E. Bright, a molecular biologist from Rutgers, described this research in Wuhan as the Wuhan lab used NIH funding to construct novel chimeric SARS-related coronaviruses able to infect human cells and laboratory animals. This is high-risk research that creates new potential pandemic pathogens that exist only in the lab, not in nature. This research matches, these are Dr. E. Bright's words, this research matches, indeed epitomizes, the definition of gain of function research.
Exactly.
But
entirely in Wuhan.
Supposed to be a federal pause. Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain of function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you were referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function.
Full stop. Okay, who is the qualified people you are referring to? And what chain of command are you referring to? Are these all people who are trying to cover their asses? Are these all people who don't want you to know that they were doing gain of function? I would love to know who you're talking about, Dr. Fauci. Was Peter Daszak one of these people you're referring to? Are you one of these people you're referring to? That tells me nothing. That tells me nothing. The people who did the gain of function research are going to tell you that it's not gain of function because they don't want to suffer the consequences. They won't suffer the consequences. It's been proven at this point. It's been proven that these people did fund gain of function research. The NIAID and the NIH funded EcoHealth Alliance, which then funded the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And gain of function research was going on in the WIV, where COVID originated from. It's not hard to see, people. It's not hard to see.
Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase the transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And
It's not a lamp. It's not a lamp. Dude, you're describing the lamp. You're describing gain of function research. It is gain of function research.
Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly.
He doesn't have any other, sorry to keep pausing, but he doesn't have any argument. All he's just getting defensive. You don't know anything that you were talking about. Quite frankly, Senator, you have no idea.
I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get one person.
Let's read from the NIH gain of function.
Can I answer the question? I'm not going to explain to you how this wasn't gain of function research. I'm just going to tell you you're wrong. So because I said you're wrong, you're wrong. Because that's what the establishment does.
This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
This aged well, man, because again, it's coming out. It's coming out. So I just showed you that video that Peter Hotez quoted from August 2nd of 2022. Peter Hotez has been, man, he's been taking some L's the past few days with the whole Rogan RFK Jr. shit. And now Peter Hotez has also received funding. So let's read this thread. Again, from August 2nd of 2022. 1 of 3, we already know that Senator Paul has no interest in covering the origins of COVID. It's all about using his power in the Senate to target prominent U.S. scientists while inviting fringe elements to testify and promote outlandish conspiracies. 2 of 3, but it's even worse than that. The far elements of the Senate and House have already shown their cards. If they gain power because of the midterm elections, they have a plan to undermine the fabric of science in America. 3 of 3, well, I guess he added another one. So 3 or 4. The mainstream media is either not connecting the dots on this or they are distracted because of other news. The scientific academies and the societies seem oblivious to what might be coming down the road. I've written a new book about this, but obviously that's not enough. 4. As I always say, America is a nation built on science and technology and our great research universities and institutions. Pause. All these institutions, universities, science, technology that he's referring to has all been captured by big banks, big pharma, military industrial complex. These people are all tied together and they're all in the same web of connections and they're all in each other's pockets, Peter Hotez included. If we allow the extremists to undermine us, it's a threat to the whole nation. Remember, scientists are the real patriots, not the chuckleheads. This is a big threat to American biomedical science and should be recognized as such. Man, I have this story. Also from August 9th of 2022. Critic of congressional probe into gain-of-function research helped fund Wuhan gain-of-function study. A prominent scientist who has denounced a congressional investigation into gain-of-function research helped fund Wuhan Institute of Virology gain-of-function work flagged by congressional investigators. Peter Hotez, Dean of the Baylor College of Medicine National School of Tropical Medicine, has been a fierce critic of potential hearings next year into a possible lab origin of COVID-19 and whether the National Institute of Health prematurely discredited the hypothesis. Hotez decried the hearings as nothing less than a plan to undermine the fabric of science in America in a viral tweet thread last week. Hotez also dismissed as an outlandish conspiracy the possibility that a lab accident sparked the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Hotez's own 2012 to 2017 NIH grant for the development of a SARS vaccine had the stated aim of responding to any accidental release from a laboratory in addition to a possible zoonotic spillover of the virus. The $6.1 million NIH grant also raises the possibility of deliberate spreading of the virus by a bioterrorist attack. It's not clear why Hotez has dismissed the possible lab release of SARS-CoV-2 as preposterous after having conducted research for years to prepare for a possible accidental or deliberate release of SARS-CoV. Okay, I'm bringing this up because a few days ago, There was this big thing. I did a video on it. You can go check that out. But Joe Rogan invited Peter Hotez and RFK Jr. on to JRE, Joe Rogan Experience, to debate whether or not vaccines cause autism. RFK Jr. was with it. He was with going on JRE. Peter Hotez was not, because he didn't want to elevate conspiracy theories. Well, this was a conspiracy theory. You said this was wrong, Peter. You, in your own words, a plan to undermine the fabric of science in America, dismissing it as preposterous. This is why you can't shut down conversation. This is why you can't forbid people to discuss things. Of course, they lied about COVID originating from a lab. Of course they did. Of course they said it was undermining the fabric of society or science or whatever. What exactly did they lie about? Well, first, they said don't wear masks. Then they admitted to you that they lied, saying that you should wear a mask and that we were just telling you that you shouldn't wear a mask so healthcare workers could have them. So they admitted to you that they lied. And then they forced masks on you and your children whenever they have overwhelming evidence that they don't work unless it's an N95 mask. That seems to be the only thing that offers any level of protection. Then Operation Warp Speed, all the DIMs, and Peter Hotez included, and other medical professionals who are now pro-vax, were all saying that they'd never take the vax. And then Biden gets elected and they immediately change course, and they're all pushing the vaccine and even bullying you into getting it. They told you if you get the vax that the virus stops with you and you cannot transmit the virus to somebody else. They told you couldn't get or pass the virus if you were vaccinated. All these things were lies. And if you said anything else, and if you had any other opinions about this stuff, they called you a conspiracy theorist, a racist, a Trumper, homophobe, whatever. So of course they lied about the virus. Of course they lied about where it originated from. Of course they called you a conspiracy theorist or a Trumper or a racist. Even though, in my opinion, it seems way more racist to say Chinese people are disgusting humans who eat shit in wet markets that Americans would never touch. That seems racist. But saying that the US funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan and then COVID leaked from that lab in Wuhan, that's racist? No, that's not racist. That seems like the logical argument to me. So again, it's coming out, man. These people are scared. Fauci's scared. I'm sure Peter Daczyk's scared. Peter Hotez is scared. I think this story right here is why Peter Hotez won't go on Joe Rogan to debate RFK Jr. This story right here. RFK Jr. I bet knows this shit. I guarantee you RFK Jr. knows this shit. I bet Joe Rogan knows this shit. Man, conspiracy theorists are winning. Again, we win. We win. But man, I'll leave it there. You guys knew this. You guys knew this. This is not news to people listening to videos like this. This is news to people who are into CNN or MSNBC or even Fox News. A shithole platform now, firing Tucker Carlson. Shout out Tucker, he's doing great. Fuck the establishment, everybody. Fuck the establishment. We're winning. We're gonna win. I'll leave it there. If you like this video, hit the like, hit the subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at StrottyT. That's STROTTYT. Peace.